When you think about the last several years of the worst fail from big gaming studios, what examples come to your mind? Does Overwatch, a once respected and monumental game, being turned into a bleak landscape of unending microtransactions sound familiar? How about a sense of pride and accomplishment you grind hours upon hours of fighting a fierce war throughout the galaxy? Speaking of galaxies, what about an infinite procedurally generated world that allows players to discover unique planets only known to them? Or think of this, mashing together all of your favorite and most memorable moments in the Battlefield series wrapped up into one unbelievable game jam-packed full of what only one could call a dream come true. Lastly, what about Call of Duty's massive shift from playing as the common soldier to now playing as Nicki Minaj? All for the cool price of roughly $20. Wow. As you can see from these examples, we're witnessing firsthand the blatant display of extreme corporate greed here, and not just from one or two companies. No, this is a widespread issue affecting how we game, what we pay, and even how we trust these big names in the industry. Today, we're deep diving into several of the most notable corporate mess-ups, bait-and-switch tactics, and money-grabbing schemes that have left gamers not just disappointed, but straight up jaded to this now normalized behavior from virtually every gaming company. So, when the first Overwatch game launched, it was a breath of fresh air, a hero shooter that valued team play, skill, and had an engaging lore, paired with beautifully animated short movies. Gamers from all around the world fell in love with the game's colorful characters and excellent maps. There was just a charm that the game had that no other game had, and at the heart of all of the excitement was Jeff Kaplan and Blizzard Entertainment's leadership, a company revered for its many high-quality titles. They had done it again. Or so it seemed, because as times change, so do the expectations of the community, and with multiple controversial character changes being made, it appeared that Blizzard was gearing up to refresh the half-decade-old game. Enter Overwatch 2, the sequel that promised to raise the bar even higher. New maps, new heroes, and an exciting PvE mode were just the tip of the iceberg. We were given glimpses of the hero-specific missions, skill trees, and other features that would deepen the experience that were introduced in the first installment. The hype was palpable. With these trailers dropping these exciting news one after another, everyone was so eager to devote millions of hours into this new world, in addition to having their wallets at the ready. Yet, as the months rolled on, something felt off. Delays were frequent and updates were vague. Still, many remained hopeful until one day Blizzard confirmed the disheartening news that Overwatch 2's ambitions had been scaled back dramatically. The dreams of expansive cooperative missions and large environments designed for specific heroes with unique skill trees vanished, much to many fans' chagrin. The hype turned into disbelief, disappointment, and for some, outright anger. As it turns out, the Overwatch 2 we got was a far cry from the one we were promised. Instead of a robust PvE experience, we received what felt like a reimagining of the first game. Features that could have set the sequel apart were dropped, leaving many to question the reason for its existence. What was supposed to be a groundbreaking follow-up became a glorified live service update, and the excitement was replaced by pure skepticism. Even worse, this downscaling wasn't just a creative mishap because the iconic or infamous loot boxes were replaced with a generic battle pass, which failed to inspire any confidence in those who purchased it. Combine this with the many poor character reworks that were introduced, the game now holds a legendary, overwhelmingly negative review on Steam. Quite a vicious fall from grace, right? Well, let's go back several years before that to another example. One game that held a universe-sized idea that ended up feeling the universal backlash post-launch. No Man's Sky. Remember the reveal trailer? Planets as numerous as grains of sand on a beach, life forms never before seen, limitless possibilities for exploration. The very heart of the game was built on the idea of boundless opportunity. You could hop into your ship, point it at a distant star, and just go. No loading screens, no limits. It was an ambitious idea for sure, and as such, it set our imaginations alight, reminding us of what we always dreamt of, becoming star-faring explorers, braving the unknown. And then came the launch. The game we got wasn't the game we were promised. Instead of exotic and undiscovered life, we discovered barren planets. Instead of epic space battles, we got clunky controls and repetitive gameplay. Multiplayer? Forget it! It was as if you were going to be forever alone. The dissonance between promise and delivery was so large, it could have very well had its own gravitational pull. You can bet what happened after everyone discovered this. The internet went wild, and doing its thing, No Man's Sky's ratings plummeted, often being called No Man's Lie. Hello Games, the company, along with head honcho Sean Murray, went radio silent, an act that further enraged the community. It's one thing to release a vastly underwhelming game. It's another to go MIA when your audience demands answers. Similar to Overwatch 2, No Man's Sky held a rating that would send any game towards a black hole. Did you catch the keyword there? Held. Past tense. In the case of No Man's Sky, unlike Overwatch 2, there's an unexpected story of redemption because over the years, Hello Games worked tirelessly to improve the game little by little, issuing updates that eventually made it closer to the game that was initially promised. As time passed, the rating equalized out, ultimately satisfying a large chunk of players. I know, unbelievable, right? A tale of failure and ultimate triumph that many can now appreciate, but I'll tell you of a similar situation. But this time, there will be no redemption. Identical situation as No Man's Sky, a fantastic trailer that was released to fans and had them raving and excited beyond all measure. Man, the hype was unreal. Trailers featured the necessary explosions, gigantic tornadoes, destruction, and even the legendary Rondazook maneuver. Based on the trailer alone, anyone would rightfully be excited for the latest installment that seemed to up the ante, continuing the proud legacy of a series known for pure action and epic moments. And don't even mention the Battlefield Portal trailer. That one could have very well broken the internet because it appeared that DICE had finally listened to the community, sensing all of the nostalgia they held for classics like 1942, Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 3. The idea that we were going to find ourselves placed in a battle between modern Marines armed with defibrillators against German soldiers with combat knives was just, before the trailer, a dream. One that ostensibly was going to be true in a matter of months. But then, in September when the beta came out, something felt off about the game that we were playing. It just felt empty. It seemed to lack the huzzah that the trailer showed. Even EA admitted that this beta build was months old. Yeah, can't you see a pattern to this? Deja vu, anyone? Once 2042 hit the shelves in stores, players were quickly plunged into a grand and epic battle, but not the one they were expecting. Bugs, glitches, and crashes, the whole 9 yards of what could only be described as last-minute work, ambushed players. Public opinion regarding the trailers quickly reversed, resulting in widespread review bombing, attacks levied towards DICE, all of which got so bad that the official Battlefield Reddit was threatened to be shut down permanently due to the extreme hate. But a good question to ask about all of this is, why did this even happen to begin with? Who or what influenced Battlefield, who is usually a trendsetter, to all of a sudden follow these terrible trends, such as cosmetic microtransactions, battle royale, and adopted the hero shooter mentality that seemed to be impacting all first-person shooter games in recent time? Well, say hello to poor management led by those who have a degree in business but no degree of creativity. Basically, they saw how profitable Modern Warfare 2019 was and elected to copy a bunch of the aspects that made Modern Warfare profitable for Activision, and instead of making the new Battlefield based around the tried and true class-based gameplay, they chose to make the game based around how much money they could siphon out of players. And that is exactly how you end up with Battlefield 2042, an uninspired, downtrodden, and downright rotten shell of its former self. But what, do you think that Call of Duty is unscathed from this digital plague? There's no way. In fact, they seem to be doing worse than ever. You probably also know that they added freaking Nicki Minaj to the operator roster. Out of all the people to the game, yes, you can actually play as Nicki Minaj in Call of Duty. Wow, now I never knew that I would ever say that. Now, Call of Duty has been the poster child of fast-paced, straightforward first-person shooter action for years. In this franchise, we've stormed the beaches of Normandy, defended Burger Town, and even fought zombies in Alcatraz. Call of Duty's like that old reliable watch that takes a licking but keeps on ticking. But in this latest installment of Modern Warfare 2, and I suppose the upcoming third one as well, there have been many decisions, many crossovers specifically, that have downright confused everybody. Enter Nicki Minaj. Yeah, the rapper. Suddenly, she's a playable character in one of the most popular shooter franchises of all time. No disrespect to her, of course, she's got her kingdom in the music world. But what's she doing in a game like Call of Duty? And in case you didn't know, this isn't just a cameo. We're talking about full-on promotional materials, in-game skins, the whole 9 yards, yet again. See, at this point, I'm not even going to bore you with the details of who even made this decision for this to happen, because as you can probably see with the previous disaster, all it took was some business major to look at how they could get more money out of players, and saw that rap music was highly popular with youngsters who also happened to be the main demographic of Call of Duty, and said to themselves, hey, let's combine that to maximize profits. With all of the bundles and crazy events that Call of Duty incorporated into Warzone, you probably aren't even surprised anymore. So when you play Call of Duty and achieve something, you don't feel that same spark and sense of accomplishment as you did with previous titles. Speaking of accomplishment, I have a question for you. Would you consider getting a world record a major success? Now, what if that world record was for getting the most dislikes on Reddit? Star Wars Battlefront 2 was one of the first major turns to a play or pay schemes in which to unlock iconic characters, players had to grind. And we're not talking about a few hours here. No, we're talking dozens upon dozens of hours of playing. And if you didn't want to do that, guess what? You could take the shortcut by opening up your wallet. The reaction was exactly what you thought it would be. People were upset and quickly took to the internet in order to show EA their displeasure in the predatory practice. On Reddit, the backlash was particularly intense, and it was there that the infamous response was written by someone from the EA community team claiming that the grind was designed to give players a sense of pride and accomplishment. Wait, think about that for a second. Pride and accomplishment are what you feel after you beat a challenging mission or finish a game on the hardest setting, not when you finally unlock a character after a ridiculous grind, or worse, after paying extra money. These 3 words were essentially throwing gasoline on an already raging fire. The community backlash was epic in the truest sense of the word. EA's comment then went on to become the most downvoted comment in Reddit history, later earning the Guinness World Record for the 2020 edition, an honor that shows just how out of touch the company was with its player base. So, as you can see, gaming hasn't been in the best of health lately. With companies getting more greedy than ever, players are being forced to reckon with the grim future of gaming. And despite this negative shadow, this does provide a fantastic opportunity for smaller studios to make an impact against this treacherous behavior. Take for example BattleBit Remastered, a fantastic counter to the disaster that was Battlefield 2042, or Escape from Tarkov, which despite having its own problems, remains far more intense and enjoyable than Call of Duty. So what's the common thread here? These aren't just individual failures. No, they're symptoms of bigger problems in the gaming industry. We're talking about misleading marketing, rush releases, and predatory monetization. It's like the industry has turned into a shell of how things used to be when products were made with love, creativity, and meaning behind them. We see now that there's a growing number of gamers who are not interested in pre-ordering anymore. Gamers simply not buying into the hype and encouraging others to do the same. In addition to this, communities are more outspoken than ever, giving everyone a fair opportunity to view and make their own decision on whether or not they will put their money into a specific product. After all, if these companies are after your hard-earned money, it's necessary to be skeptical, considering the prevalence of today's deception. And it's also important to remember that when companies backtrack or renege on their promises, that we as a community continue to hold them responsible for what they claim. If companies are looking for their product to receive attention, then we should absolutely give them negative attention if it means that awareness can be spread in order to keep these companies from pulling the same trick every time. Finally, let's remind ourselves of why we even game in the first place. For fun! We deserve better than buggy releases, empty promises, and sketchy microtransactions. Let's hope that the future is brighter for the world of gaming. But remember, the power to shape the future, that's in our hands, not just the big companies pulling the strings. Keep playing, keep demanding better, and who knows, maybe we'll see a return to form for how things used to be.